You've talked a lot about accidents, Joel. It wasn't an accident that you got into the wrestling business. I mean, you got in at a really young age. How were you able to get your foot in the door?
Yeah, I started right around my 16th birthday and kicked around the wrestling school, the wrestling gym circuit, doing kind of bootleg shows, and then the independent circuit, made friends, got bookings, met people, and did that kind of for the last couple of years of high school and the first couple of years of college. And ECW started to pick up steam. It was right up here in the Northeast, and I introduced myself to Paul Heyman and told him, I just wanted to, let you know, I've admired your work, grew up in Brooklyn, have watched you, in WCW and listened to radio shows that you've been a guest on, that kind of thing. I said, I know you have a show coming up in Middletown, New York. I go to college further upstate in Ithaca. I know your ring announcer and your timekeeper. They're based out of Philadelphia, and I'm not sure if they're already scheduled to take the ride and be in Middletown, or if you'd be using anybody else, maybe for the first time. If that's the case, I'd be available and more than happy to shoot down to Middletown, and I'd, love to kind of have an audition and work the show if that's possible. And he looked at me and he said, "You want it?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You got it. Be there by 5."
That's simple.
That's simple. That's simple. I mean, it was probably the pitch of a lifetime. I probably, just said, if you're going to do it, do it. And so I did it and just, told them kind of who I was and what I'd been doing for the past couple of years, and that I was, looking to help out and be a part of it. And that's it.
Stud Muffin Joel Gertner, you've traveled up and down the East Coast a little bit. Have you run into Chance Prophet in your travels?
I got to think once or twice. I mean, Chance, you've been, how long is it now that you've been doing this now?
15 years, and it'll be 16 in May.
15 or 16, right? So I would imagine, seems like the same part of the country that we've been working together, and I'm sure there have been a few shows. There are a few that I'm hoping he wasn't on. There was one doozy in Woodbridge, Virginia. Did you ever work Woodbridge, Virginia?
I did not, thankfully.
Oh, interesting story about that one. I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised if you Google Woodbridge, Virginia, independent wrestling and come up with it on the first 10 results on the front page of Google. But I would imagine I've run into Chance Prophet at least a time or two. Chance, do you remember us meeting up?
It seems like we've been on a show or two. And have you ever worked with Johnny Cashmere, Pro Wrestling Unplugged?
I did not. Nope.
Okay. I was thinking that maybe we need to meet up, though, that's for sure. I'm a big fan from way back.
I appreciate it. And likewise, man, I've heard some good things about you, and I think if the quintessential Stud Muffin and Chance Prophet were ever together working on the same show, perhaps out there together in the same segment, I think whatever promoter would be involved with putting that together would definitely have every chance of turning a profit. As a matter of fact, there wouldn't be a chance that they wouldn't.
I love it. I love it.
Nice, Mr. Gertner. Nice. I loved it. So, Chance, let me ask you a couple more questions before we let you out of here. What inspired your gimmick, and what inspired, I mean, you have different face paints and different designs and stuff that you do. What inspired all of that for you?
Going back to, like, my NWA career, I shattered my leg and couldn't get a booking after I got cleared in 6 months, which I can see why people would be apprehensive. But I was cleared in 6 months to return to competition. I got hardware in my ankle. I couldn't get a booking from the guys that were basically my bread and butter. So that kind of does a little something to your psyche. It makes you a little bit angry. It makes you a little bit bitter. It makes you a little bit darker. So I was kind of thinking, well, if I'm coming back and no one really wants to pay attention to me, maybe I need to change the way I look. Maybe I need to change the way I talk. Maybe I need to change the way I go at things. So I started looking into darker things and looking into, going back to things that I loved as a kid that got me interested in wrestling. And the Great Muta was one of those. And so was later on in my later teenage years, Vampiro was one of those. And I've always been a big fan of Venom, hence all the teeth. And And then the Joker was pretty cool too, and everybody was ripping off Heath Ledger when it came out. So I threw a little dash of that in there too.
So have you found in your time, in your current gimmick, do you find it more interesting to do this as a face or as a heel?
Definitely more interesting to do it as a baby face. You walk out and there's little children that are supposed to be cheering you, and they're scared, and you have to work to gain their trust, and then you immediately rip that right back from them and scare them, and then hope they'll still buy your merchandise because their parents think you're cool. Every parent wants their kid to be scared a little bit so they can go home and go to sleep and then cry in the middle of the night. It's a good thing for them. Builds character.
So, Chance, before we let you go, how does people keep in touch with you? What do you got going on in social media where your fans can follow you and keep up with what's going on with you?
I've got Facebook.com/ChanceProfit. It's pretty full, if not completely full. What else? Instagram, Chance Profit on there too. So there's lots of stuff.
Got any other cool things coming up that you need for our listeners to be aware of?
Pray that I don't get killed by Brodus Clay. After that, I've got a tag match with, who am I tagging with? That's a bad thing not to say. October 18th for ASW in Madison, I'm tagging against Jason Gorey and Matt Connard, which could get interesting given what happened in Pennsylvania with myself and Jason Gorey making this whole congregation thing happen. And then I've got lots of stuff that I've got listed on my Facebook. I've got my tour. I'm definitely touring. I have a bus with lots of happy little things going on inside of it. You can keep up with me on Facebook, and I'll have all my dates on there. Facebook.com/ChanceProfit.
Awesome. Of course you're on tour. You're in demand, brother.
I'm trying.
Chance Profit, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We're going to get you back on another time and keep up with you, okay?
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Chance Profit on the Undisputed Wrestling Show. Have a nice evening.
You too, sir.
All right, so we get Chance Profit in here. Man, he's got some crazy face paint. I mean, I don't know if everybody out there has checked out, some of his older photos and comparing to some of his recent photos, but he really put some time and dedication into the face painting. What do you think, Will?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say something about, we did an F5 of the greatest wrestlers' face paint, and he was on my list, and nobody else's, but I left that alone, just to save y'all face.
No, we definitely appreciate that. This is the Undisputed Wrestling Show, and we still have the quintessential stud muffin, Joel Gertner, on the line, and it's time to kick it over to the bearded man himself, Zane Paisley.
Well, Joel, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you guys for having me.
Well, I've always loved your work, and it's nice that you're getting recognized on WWE.com. You were number 9 on the best manager-client combos for your work with the Dudleys. What an honor that is to be recognized 15 years later for your work there. What was it like with your time with working with the Dudley boys and getting them over in ECW?
Yeah, that's the part of my career that a lot of people are most familiar with, and that's a lot of people associate me as the manager of the Dudley Boys as a part of that act, and that's something I'm very proud of. It lasted, whatever it was, 2.5 years, 3 years, from the mid-'90s until the late 90s, which is, by and large, as long as a stable can have any kind of freshness and relevance to it. And yeah, it was a great time in working with them. Learned a lot about tag team wrestling from the inside. Learned a lot about the dynamics of the tag team. Learned about just being a part of a bigger picture and a larger act, kind of a macrocosm, and just filling the gaps and just doing the things that would best accentuate what it was that they were there for and that they brought to the table. And, everybody in ECW, it's cliche, fans of ECW have heard this so many times, but, everybody's, strengths were accentuated and everybody's weaknesses, were to an extent hidden. And that's what you have to do for any kind of product or any kind of business to be successful, is to, lead with your strongest foot, dance with the one that brings you and rely on, what it is that got you to the dance in the first place. Having said that though, Bubba and Devon, very, very multi-talented, very, very multi-faceted. So, just being a part of it and helping be the evil, lustful pervert, behind the physical madness, and have people wonder, as far as, the manager-client relationship goes, as far as just, a dichotomy of, I think the subtlety was in the fact that, why are they with me? Why does somebody who, aside from the fact that he might wear a tie-dye neck brace or a tie-dye bow tie, why was he ever anywhere near Dudleyville? Why would they associate with me? And why, with me enjoying the finer things of life and having some semblance of wealth, why, again, would I have ever been in Dudleyville, and why would I have ever come across that? So I think that's kind of a subtlety and a nuance that, that might be the one thing maybe that we didn't explore enough. But maybe, some people, tuned in on that and kind of honed in on it just from the simple fact that we didn't kind of, throw it, in anybody's face. It was just kind of this oil and water, odd couple kind of dynamic. And, I just hope it was entertaining. And I think it was a good mix.